Okay. Good evening, ghosties. Today we are going to be having a little drink and talking about some evil, evil man. So I am going to be drinking some Stella Rosa Blueberry. And Autumn, what are you having?
Today I have my signature Tito's, which I love, which is why I have an entire handle of it.
Tito's all day, every day.
Yep, it's real blood orange, sparkling. It'll be delicious.
So we're going to be talking about Randy Kraft. He goes by many different names. The Southern California Freeway Killer. He's the Marine Killer. But I think most people know him as the Scorecard Killer because he would keep a literal scorecard of all of the crimes. Well, not all, but most of the crimes that he was committing. He started committing murder in September 1971, 3 days shy of 49 years ago. He started committing murders September 20th, 1973. But that wasn't his first crimes that he had committed. He had done some sadistic things before that. But he's been convicted of 16 murders.
Convicted of 16.
But he's been suspected of killing up to 67 men, maybe even more. It could be in triple digits. We have no idea. The guy is crazy. He's a little guy, quiet. But he was taking down Marines, 6'4", 200 and something pound Marines, taking them down because he was drugging them and getting them a little drunk. I think that he was probably slipping the Valium into their drinks.
He was, and one of their autopsies actually suspected that they died of alcohol poisoning versus anything else because that's how drunk they were.
He was so sadistic. He would torture these people to the point of when they were finally found, the police couldn't even determine what their cause of death was. So he was a really evil, evil man. But we're gonna start. We're gonna start at the end. Terry Combs? Terry Gambrell, sorry.
Pretty close.
We're going to start at the end. We're going to start with Terry Gambrell. So it is in a middle of the night, California highway. They're driving. They see this guy driving erratically on the highway, and they pull him over. He gets out of his car, pours out his beer. He's clearly intoxicated. The police are like, open and shut case. They arrest him, put him in the car. They go to check his vehicle to see if there's any weapons or drugs or whatever in the car. They definitely weren't expecting to find Terry Gambrell deceased in his passenger seat. He had something over his lap because his genitals were exposed. He had ligature marks on his neck. And even more disturbing, if there could be something more disturbing than that, even more disturbing, in the floorboard under his feet, under the beer bottles, there was 40 Polaroid photos of other victims that this had happened to. So this man unknowingly gets into the car with Randy Kraft. There's literally pictures of deceased men on the floorboard in front of him, and he's probably too intoxicated to even know where he's at. But that's the start of this case, or the end of this case, because once they found Terry, the whole thing blew open. I mean, this guy traveled for work, so across 3 different states, he was guilty of killing people. What did you think about just this guy? I mean, he was killing people in a time in California where other serial killers were also operating. Probably the most ideal time for him to do it.
Oh, no, that's exactly why he got away with it for as long as he could. In fact, there have been many theories that possibly he was actually teamed up with several different other serial killers.
I've heard that too. Yeah, I've heard that just because of some of the inconsistencies and the victims.
The inconsistencies, how they were disposed of, or where they were disposed of, made other people think, well, maybe he was working with someone else, like the I-5 killer, or what's the other one? The guys in the white truck, or the guys in the white van.
There was one killer, Patrick Kearney, and he was also a killer of young men. I think that I'm not sure if he was, I know that, and we can do a story on him and we'll find out. But I know that Randy Kraft was homosexual, so he targeted predominantly men, which the men weren't necessarily homosexual that he was targeting. He used to tell his friends, I'm going to go find me a Marine. And his friends were like, cool, go have fun. They didn't realize he was going to go find someone that he was going to mutilate. he had some specific traits that he would do at every murder. What did you? I thought that was disturbing. Which one to you stuck with you the most?
I believe the one that stuck to me the most was the one about how he would take their socks and stick them up their own anuses after they were dead.
Yeah, he would take their own socks and put them in their rectum. He would remove their genitals. He would do things like, I thought this was weird, that he would bite their genitals, bite their nipples, or to emasculate them.
Or he would take the car cigarette lighter. I know most cars don't.
Yeah, he would burn them.
He would actually burn off their nipples with the car cigarette lighter.
Yeah, so he did this for 13 years. That's like if somebody started killing today, then in 2035, then they'd catch him. So he had this whole time across multiple different states to just be doing whatever he wanted to do. He was infamous for racking up miles on his rental vehicles during his work time, because he would just travel the highways, pick guys up, and then dump them later down the same highway. So he would travel hundreds and hundreds of miles in a single weekend. Nobody really thought anything of that, but it come to find out that once the authorities became aware that he was possibly a serial killer, of course that started to make sense, you know? And like she said, there's sometimes that people say he may have had an accomplice. They found DNA evidence that didn't match him. That doesn't necessarily mean that that person didn't come in contact with someone before, but there's multiple different ideas that float around. I've even heard that there was like a ring of pedophiles that would work together and basically send like a picture of a young boy and say, hey, do you want this young boy or whatever, at the time that we're working closely together in that area.
It's like Pedophiles Anonymous.
Yeah, so even though I don't, when I think of him, I think of a serial killer, he really was a pedophile. His first victim in 1970 was a 13-year-old boy. So he actually kidnapped a 13-year-old boy, got him intoxicated, drugged him. He sexually assaulted the young boy, and then the young boy was conscious enough to go and tell the police. The police come back, they do a search on his house, and they find all this evidence. But they did the search without a warrant. So Randy Kraft walked away from that. He didn't have to serve any time for raping a 13-year-old boy.
13-year-old boy that was out looking for a missing dog.
And out looking for a missing dog. Horrible.
He actually had him on his scorecard as like dog boy or something.
Yeah, so on his scorecard, he didn't put these people's names. Occasionally he'd put initials, but he put just kind of a way for him to know who the person was. So like the lady Teresa, who we are supposed to be interviewing today, her brother was the Carson Marine. He was found in a city called Carson. That's where he was visiting his girlfriend. He hitchhiked his way home, and he got picked up by Randy as a hitchhiker, and he was left on the side of the road nude. So he was a predator. He was truly a predator. He would pick up these people, like the little boy looking for his dog, who needed, the little boy may have thought, oh, Randy's going to help me look for my dog, and this is what he does instead.
I mean, he looked like your average, innocent, kind of...
He kind of did. He looked like a little... I mean, he worked in the IT field.
Harmless,
he looks like a harmless person, yeah.
That's the guy I'm going to go ask for help find my dog.
Yep. So a majority of the people that he murdered, there's not a whole lot of information online about them, and even less images of people online. But we were lucky enough to get an image of Richard Keith with a picture of his sister. He was, like I said, the Carson Marine. He was killed when he was 19 years old. He was young. And of course, like I said, this guy was the Marine killer. He specifically sought out Marines. I think that's crazy. I guess that was just like his kind of like type or whatever. But the first person he killed was, like I said, in September. And the people's ages range from very young to in their mid-20s. I think the youngest victim was maybe 17 years old, if I'm incorrect. But he was only charged with 16 murders. Only 16 people he got charged with. So there's almost 60 other people who he hasn't even been charged with.
There were 16 he was charged with, 61 on his actual scorecard.
So even though there were 61 on the actual scorecard,
exactly.
some of them were 2-in-1s. Like he would say, 2 at whatever. So that entry meant 2 people.
Looks like the guys in Michigan. When he was on a business trip to Michigan, he murdered 2 guys in Michigan at the same time and listed them as one person.
At the crime scene,
if you're going to cut some penis off, there's going to be a lot of blood.
There is going to be a lot of blood. And there was even times that they said we are not sure if he died from blood loss or from the strangulation, because that was Randy's trademark. He would strangle someone with their own shoelaces. He didn't care, he didn't come prepared. He didn't bring the weapons. He would find a maple tree and break off a branch and, penetrate someone with that. He would find a drinking straw, like a stirring straw, put it at someone's genitals, and he would do it with such force it would pierce their bladder. The things that he would do was truly, truly disturbing. But people would say, I never thought Randy would do that. He was such a nice and quiet guy. In school, he did this and that. He was so, if we made a list of all of the people in the whole school and picked 5 of them that would definitely not grow up to be a gruesome serial killer, Randy would be on the list. When I read that, I almost shit myself. I was like, what? He literally raped a little 13-year-old boy. And you're going to say Randy would never do that? I think Randy would definitely fucking do that. Me personally, I think that he would.
I mean, that's just the ones that we know about. Who knows what he was really doing when he was a kid, the kind of weird shit he was doing. Because one of his first male boyfriends, when he realized he was gay, was super into bondage. Which is how I heard he was actually, that's how he got into it, was from his...
That is very interesting.
Yep.
I did hear when he was a child, he had received numerous head injuries. From the age of 2, he began receiving head injuries. Yeah. So that's another thing that I thought.
He was very accident prone. He used to fall down stairs and stuff. And
yeah, I think when he was 2 years old, the first time he fell down the stairs, broke his collarbone.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Crazy.
But yeah, his first boyfriend, I think his name was Jeff or something, is the one who introduced him to bondage and BDSM. And he left him because he was tired of all the BDSM.
Yeah. So there was definitely some issues between him and his next boyfriend. Gosh, I wish I could remember his name.
It was also Jeff, I think.
Well, I'm going to look it up. But his next boyfriend, they actually had a very tumultuous relationship. And they had done things like planned trips to Europe.
Jeff.
And was that Jeff? Oh, it was Jeff Graves. It was Jeff. Yeah,
he had 2 Jeffs. He broke up with the first Jeff and got with another Jeff.
Okay, so Jeff is the one who, he was younger than Randy. Mm-hmm. Randy's being a little cougar, finds this hot young male, and then they have a very tumultuous relationship. So they planned the trip to Europe to hopefully repair their relationship. And all the meanwhile, Randy's traveling around, picking men up, and killing them. I personally think Jeff had no idea. I think Jeff is probably Randy's probably cheating on me, whatever. I don't think he has an idea that Randy is out there cutting people's dicks off. Yeah.
Dicks off.
It's not funny, but
it's not funny at
all. It is so awkward. I think that's what it is.
It's very awkward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, totally all the respect to the families of the victims. The 16 victims that he was charged with, they got to sit in the courtroom and view all the court proceedings. There was not allowed any news media. There could be reporters, there couldn't be any recordings of anything. So we don't have any recordings. But I heard that when he was in the courtroom, he would smirk at the victims' families. Not a good guy. Totally a manipulative, narcissistic person. Kind of like, God, what's his name? Ted Bundy. How he was a person who could be likable. Yeah. And people would think, oh, he's so smart and blah, blah, blah. No, he's not. He's manipulative. He's putting on a show for you.
Yeah.
But, so what do you get out of all of this? Randy Kraft is still on death row now.
Oh, I know. He's still alive.
So why? Why is he still getting 3 hots and a cot in California when he's already had the most expensive trial in California history.
Because he got California death row. He didn't get Texas death row.
That's true.
They really do. I think, when was the last time they actually executed on someone on death row in California?
Let's look it up.
It's been a very long time. It's the only reason why. He's going to die on death row.
Yeah, I think that he will. And I think that it's, I don't know, I think it's sad. I think it's sad for the families. The last execution
2006.
in California took place in 2006.
16 years ago.
Yeah. That's crazy. So he's going to live out his life, 3 huts and a cot, just using taxpayer money for the rest of his life, probably, while the families have to pick up the pieces. So we were supposed to speak with the sister of the Carson Marine today. She has been dealing with some family issues. She is very busy today. So we've been waiting for her call. Hasn't come in yet. I'm hoping she'll call me in a little bit, and then we can upload her interview. But I did have some things that she had told me about her brother. So I'm going to post up a picture here in the video. This is going to be her and her brother when her brother was 19 years old. He was a little bit older than her. She loved her brother. He was 19 years old. He was a Marine. He was going to go and serve his country. He had a girlfriend. They were in a very serious relationship. He was just a very bright, kind, brilliant young man. He was 6'3", 235 pounds. And he just got in the wrong car. When we take an Uber or take a Lyft now, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, hitchhiking, that was your Lyft and your Uber. It wasn't obviously the safest, but most of the time you were fine.
Even though I will say there have been a few Ubers I've gone into late at night that are very disturbing.
I'm very lucky that I haven't had to take a mini Uber, so I haven't had any of those disturbing kind of things. I think it may be your worst nightmare if you have something as bad as Randy. But the Carson Marine, his sister is actually banned from calling the federal prison that Randy Kraft is being held in, because she has called numerous times and told them that, you know, the execution is taking a very long time. She has offered her services to personally execute Randy so that all of the families can have this justice that they have been waiting for many, many years for. She also told me that when Randy was in the courtroom, that he turned around and he smirked at the families of the 16 victims who were there. She tried to jump the seats to get to Randy. She's a very badass lady, and I really hope that we have the opportunity to talk with her this evening. If we don't, I'm sure that she will get with me sometime this weekend, and we will upload that video as soon as it hits. But Randy Kraft, he is a disgusting human being. He's still living in California. There has actually been said that there could be as many as 20 serial killers at any time running around through the United States, just like Randy. There just happened to be 3 at that time in California on the same highway, and they got caught.
I think it's like, what, a 1 in 8 chance or something that every person that you speak to
could be a serial killer?
Yeah. Something like that.
But now that's something I have to worry about.
Not sure how accurate that statement is, so don't.
So now I have to live in fear for the remainder of my life. But yeah, I would love to cover more cases that are not heavily covered. We live in Texas, so I've had so many people ask me, well, do one about Candy, do one about Betty Gore or whatever. I would love to do something one day over them, but it's just so heavily covered right now. There's nothing new to cover.
Didn't Candy live in California?
She lived less than 1 mile away from me.
Exactly.
410 Dogwood. That's where the murder happened. So I know that off the top of my head. It's not for no reason. It's not for no reason. Because you gotta stay away from the ghosts.
I was checking out the pictures on Zillow, and I was like, that's actually really nice.
You gotta stay away from that creepy shit. You gotta stay away from
that layout, that open floor plan.
Those houses over there are so beautiful. They are historical houses. I think they're gorgeous.
It wasn't historical.
It's the stuff in Wiley is old as shit, dude.
No, the house she lived in was built in like late 1960s.
Do you know how many years ago that was?
shit.
That was over half a century ago.
Thanks. Thank you for that.
So, yeah, just reminding you.
Oh, no, Joe.
How old we are.
Joe likes to remind me all the time that if I was a car, he could register me
An antique?
as an antique.
I don't call it a classic.
It's a special car. It's a special license.
But I would love, if somebody wanted to recommend a story that you don't think there's enough coverage on, I would love to cover it. Another one I would love to cover is the Patrick Kearney one, because he worked basically alongside with Randy Kraft. They were killing people, the same demographic of people, the same time, the same area. Southern California, the SoCo highway killers, they weren't necessarily working together, but that was a crazy time to be living in California.
I'm just saying, what if you had a body you needed to get rid of and you're like, hey, bro.
Hey, Patrick. But see, another thing is Patrick Kearney was always very adamant that he never mutilated anyone.
Exactly.
Except for when he dismembered them, put them in a trash bag. But he didn't do anything for gratification.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Randy's mutilations were for his own sexual gratification.
And they even said it was because of how his relationship was going at the time. If his relationship was going good, they were just strangled and dumped. But if it was bad,
and I think another thing we didn't mention, Randy was discharged, a medical discharge from the military, but when it came up out as being homosexual.
Exactly.
And I wondered if maybe that's why he targeted military men.
Yep. Well,
Marines, because he was a Marine hunter.
Well, every picture that you pulled up looks like my significant other.
Yeah, every guy looks like your Marine. It's crazy. And you think, how did this little gross little man, this tiny little harmless little fly of a man, how did he get these Marines into that state where they were so helpless? But it's because they were trusting. You want to be trusting people. You want to think, oh, my neighbor's probably a good person. If I need a cup of sugar, I'm going to go ask them, and they're going to give me a cup full of, cyanide or whatever. So
rat poison.
Exactly.
But also, when you're a big bad Marine, you're also thinking, that this little guy can't do shit to me.
I'm sure. Marine. I'm sure. Even I think that. I'm 4'10", and I'll be like, they can't do shit to me. They'll pick me up and put me in their van. If I do get picked up and put in the van, do a story about it. But it's. I would love for some people to recommend something that they would like to hear about. I actually have a really long list.
She does.
I think that we should do the Wet Mesa bone collector next, but
I like that one.
Would be
but I also like the pig farmer.
Okay, the pig farmer, that's a good Canadian one. I don't want to stick in America. There's crimes being committed all over the world.
My favorite, though, is, and that's always been my dream. I'm not saying it's a dream that I want to kill people, but, if I could, and I need to dispose of them, pigs. Just pigs.
So anyway, the FBI, hopefully you turned that off about 5 seconds before she said that. But anyway, I have a Peppa Pig.
She's not a nice little
She's not a pig, but she looks like a pig. But a bottle of Stella Rosa, since we've sat here.
Yeah, no, she can't keep drinking wine, so please help us out. So
anyway, that's all, folks. We love you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like our video and share it with all of your friends, because they all want to see this crazy little thing we're doing. Yeah. So anyway, please enjoy. Have a good evening, ghosties. See you next Saturday. Bye. Oh, I just flipped them off. Bye.